Today we're going to be installing this 54-inch acrylic portable basketball goal made by Spalding. This particular basketball goal we acquired from our local Costco, right around $300. And I'm not sure if this is specific only to Costco, this particular goal itself, but it is very similar to ones I've seen available at other retailers. This is a portable goal, not built for in-ground, so it has a base that you can fill with either water or sand, and it includes their AccuGlide, which is particular design for adjusting the height of the basketball goal, which I find to be very nice in that you can adjust it to almost any infinite number of heights between 7.5 feet and 10 feet. So if you have a goal that you're about to install that's very similar to this, or this particular one, I'm going to show you today how to do that, and that it can be done with one person, although it is recommended to have at least two people, especially when working on the backboard itself. But for this particular install, I did all the work myself, and I had to get a little creative in some of the ways that I installed everything. So take it for what it's worth. Please follow the suggested guidelines, but it can be done with just one person. The first thing you're going to need to do is remove all the contents from the boxes. Be sure to check inside the pole sections. Hardware and additional parts are packed inside, as I found out. Still one more piece. It's kind of stuck in there. Next, we are going to assemble the oval pole. Using a tape measure, I will make a 3.5-inch mark from the top of the middle and bottom pole sections.
Oh my gosh.
That was my 3.5-inch mark. Figured that was close enough. Okay, now we're going to install the wheels onto the base and then the oval pole onto the base as well. Here's a few of the tools you'll need for the job. 3/8 ratchet here with a socket extension, 7mm 1/2-inch, 9/16, and 3/4, and their corresponding open-ended wrenches. The only one I don't have is the 7mm. I think I might have it somewhere, but I couldn't find it right now. I'm going to wait till we get to that point. For this, you're going to need the number 1 kit and the number 2 kit. This is the number 1 kit. It's 6 bolts and washers. The number 2 kit is the one that has the nut in the middle of this long threaded piece here. Helps to have a socket extension here, since these are kind of depressed. All right, you can see here, it's assembled. All right, this is what it'll look like once it's done. I did have to use an open-ended 9/16 wrench for that bottom one because it was kind of hard to thread by hand, but it got it going and then I could do it by hand. Now we have to somehow get that and attach it there. And it'll have to be standing up, as it shows right here. Having a buddy helps to hold the pole. I don't happen to have anyone here. The instructions mention something about using a sawhorse. I don't happen to have one, but might be able to finagle something here. It doesn't even mention the use of the sawhorse in this particular step. It shows it when assembling the backboard. Might be able to stack a few bins and use that as a sawhorse. Okay, we got this metal bracket, 9/16 socket, 3/8 inch ratchet with socket extension, and 2 nylock nuts that fit 9/16. I believe these are number 9 in the instructions. Again, it doesn't mention any torque specs, at least in the main part of the instructions, so I'm just tightening them until I can't really tighten them much more. You can't really go much further on these anyway, at least with the regular non-deep socket here, because it's starting to touch the... Okay, now we're going to install these struts onto the base. Between the pole and the base, it's going to add support. Bolts 11, washers 12, nuts 13. Again, it doesn't say anything about how tight to make this, but this is starting to bend that inward and that one inward too. So imagine I need to fasten it on the other end. This frame fits right in here. This time I've got an extension. It's still a 1/2 inch socket. Just going to install it loosely for now and do the other side. Put the support. Again, just hand tightening it for now. I think at this point I'm going to go ahead and tighten everything. Okay, I may have tightened that just a little too far here. It says tighten bolt 11 in the lock nut 13 until it is flush even with the outer edge of the nut. Of course, it's talking about what I just tightened, 13 and 11 through these two struts. Mine went a little bit further than the outer edge of the nut, but it felt like it needed it. It wasn't ever getting really tight, and these flat parts seem to be adjusting with the amount of pressure. So I don't know, we'll get this thing back upright and see. This is what I'm not sure of here. It said to tighten it till the nut, I guess these two ends are, till this is flush. There would not have been any tightness here with these, so I'm not sure. Seems all right to me. It does seem like this could be a hazard if you ran into this, but there's gonna be a mat that goes around here anyway, I think. Okay, in this stage we're going to assemble the AccuGlide lift. It requires kit 3 and a 1/2 inch or 3 3/4 inch socket wrench or wrench. And these are the parts you'll need. These are the tools, the 3/4 inch wrench and socket and 1/2 inch. This is the hardware kit, which is number 3. And this is the AccuGlide lift assembly. First step is you're going to take this bracket and that bracket, secure it to the top pole, which is number 4, using these two number 28 bolts and the number 16 flange nuts. Now this is located on the top pole. You can see the 2 holes right there. So you're going to need a ladder for this one. So I'm going to grab this guy, these 2, and these are the flange nuts. They got the serrated edge. Okay, for the second part of this step, you're gonna need to grab these 2 handle arm tubes, number 53. And grab this hex bolt. I forgot to mention the 2 large number 44 hex bolts will be used. There's only 2 of them. There's 3 others that are like them, but slightly bigger. And we're gonna use those 2 nylock nuts, number 40. That's these right here. And then we're gonna cap them off, or we're gonna use this spacer, number 49. That's these 2. Then we're gonna cap them off with number 38 plugs. That is these 4 right here. Let's go ahead and grab them. Will be assembled along pole number 5, which is the middle pole, starting with this hole right here, right there. These are going to be facing the back side. Nut, bolt, spacer. Other spacer. Nylock nut. Not sure how tight, but it might not need to be too tight. Doesn't say to use a hammer, but be sure if you do use a hammer, be careful not to scratch your equipment. Next thing you're going to do is assemble these 2, like so. Then you're going to take that number 18 bolt and the number 13 nylon lock nut, and you're going to assemble it on that triangular bracket up there. All right, then you're going to line the top of these 2 connecting tubes. They are marked right here. These are the top, and these plugs go in them. Like so, and then line it up with this. The holes are going to align. Then you're going to run this large bolt and lock nut through them. All right, assemble the backboard. This is the part where it requires a sawhorse and a 7mm 9/16 inch and 3-inch socket wrench or wrench. I don't have a sawhorse, but I improvised with these bins, but the tail end still wanted to slide backwards, so I did have some jack stands and some wheel chocks. Okay, ran out of daylight in that last scene. We're gonna attach the upper elevator tube to the upper end of the pole using one of these bolts, number 43, on one of the nuts. So when you're done, it'll look like this. Now we're going to attach the longer of the upper elevator tubes. Or excuse me, we're going to attach the lower elevator tubes now using the remaining two number 43 bolts and the two lock nuts that come with it in the set. Just going to attach the gas pull strut to the main pull. You want to orient it the same way as the upper arms. Okay, you want to make sure that these are up or else they get stuck. So, okay, I apologize. I forgot one very important step. You need to use two spacers between the elevator tubes and the pole itself. So let me go ahead and correct that. So we have our last number 43 bolts going in the back side. There's a little pin on the strut there. Instructions show this facing this way, so I figured better have this extended already. Okay, as you can see, I finagled a way to do this using 4 jack stands, part of a wooden crate that I had. And so I have the backboard sitting on that. And I've lowered this down using one of the bins to act as the sawhorse. We're having an alignment issue. This doesn't want to line up with this hole. I'm going to have to compress the strut down a little bit. So see what's happening. You have this little release lever that needs to be pushed in. There's going to be another lever here that'll squeeze that so you can release this strut and it'll allow you to compress it. The thing is, when I'm compressing it, this is too wide for this pole to fit over, so it's not fully extending upward here. Actually, it'd go like this because this will start to pivot. So I'm going to have to redo that. I don't even know how that got in there in the first place, but there is some scratch right there. I remember when I released this to make these angled that way. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about doing that because this might happen. There we go. At this point, it says to tighten all these fasteners that we just installed at this point, but yeah, I'm missing this one from being installed back with this bracket, so I'm going to have to reattach that somehow before we get this thing all buttoned up. Okay, I've uninstalled the strut, and I'm going to try to compress it. There we go. There we go. Whew. Okay, now you go through and you tighten all the bolts. The trigger that allows you to adjust the height is under here and under the physical trigger on the shock or the strut. And there's a hole back here that this tiny little 7mm bolt is going to go through. I just have a 7mm socket, but it doesn't fit with the ratchet, so I'm just going to use the 7mm socket on one side and 9/32. Okay, instead of filling it with just water or sand, I'm going to use this base gel. It's supposed to absorb 400 times its weight in water and allows it to be used when it freezes. It kind of turns into this gel mixture, and it can be removed. Just add a table salt and water solution, and and you can drain it out. All right, folks, well, that was the installation of the Spalding 54-inch acrylic portable basketball hoop. I really hope this was helpful if you're considering buying one of these or one similar. This was a fun project. Please stay tuned to the channel, consider liking, subscribing, and hit the bell to be notified of our next motoring adventure. We'll see you next time. Let's try that again.